computer-aided drafting and design is the way.
Don't have a computer, that means you have no place in the practice of architecture in the 21st century. Most of your tools, you can't even draft. Even if you are doing hand drafting and you don't have your
T-square or S1.E2
pencil or pen,
what are you doing?
Can't draft. That's
draft.
equivalent of what is asking.
Hello and welcome back to the Architects Podcast. Okay, in today's episode, we are going to be talking about our takes on certain things. Okay, the first one is the hand drafting technique that is being used most of the time in most especially in Nigerian architecture universities, architecture schools. Okay, you are required to draw and present your works, drafted with hand. You are going to use scale rule, set square, T square, drawing table, and then use pencil or tracing paper or tracing ink on tracing paper to actually express your own idea. Okay, today we are going to be exploring that option against using CAD. When I say CAD, I don't mean AutoCAD. I also mean other softwares like ArchiCAD, Revit, all those other software that you can use to put down what you're thinking faster and then present it. We're going to be looking at, which one we should be using these days, okay, with the increase in technology.
According to industry standards
also. And also, we are going to also be reacting to other people's opinions on the internet, okay? So, but before we go further, I'd like to introduce myself again. If this is your first time on this our podcast, welcome. Do well to subscribe or follow wherever you are watching this thing. My name is Onoche Chukwode. Okay, I'm an architect in training. Right beside me is, please introduce yourself.
My name is analysed. I'm also an architect in training.
All right.
My name is Architect Odo Peter, an architect in practice. I'm no longer in training.
Yeah. So let's jump right into it. First of all, we are going to talk about what we think about this matter. Should we use hand to draw, or should we use computer? That's simply put now, to draw. Even when in architect school, if our opinion, whatever we are going to say, whatever style we are going to tilt to, we are going to defend it with some points. I hope what I'm saying is in order.
Yes.
All right. So first of all, let's hear what you think, what you have to say about the topic before we start looking at other people's opinion.
Well, for me, hand drafting has its role.
Okay.
Like I always mention, is a stepping stone. It gives you the basic skill you need to start drafting. But now when we talk about what today's industry standard is, you realize that hand drafting has no place in the industry.
Yeah.
Because nobody is going to employ you or give you job as far as architecture is concerned because you are very good with drafting with your hand.
That's true.
Nobody's going to give you job. So I always recognize the fact that it's a starting point for intending architects who are in school. Mm-hmm. But then CAD has come to stay because it has a lot of advantages which we may be looking into in the course of our discussion.
Yeah.
But I think if I am to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, on which one we need to stress more when we are preparing the young architects, we should put it at hand drafting maybe around 15%, while CAD drafting can take the remaining 85%.
I agree with you.
So I want to take a different view. I think I don't agree that it should be the percentage that Chisom has given.
Okay, how many percent would you recommend?
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is this. You see, the architect is not a draftsman.
Yes.
So we should start from there.
Okay.
And if you look at technology today, many technology are actually supporting drafting.
Yes.
So you look at Apple, maybe I think Morphology also that enables people to sketch. We have a lot of computer-aided design. It's actually going back to pen on screen.
Yes.
Maybe it's not pen on paper, but the skill is there.
Yeah.
So architecture schools, we can't just dump that skill of drafting.
Okay.
So I think it's very important because in most of his practice, the architect will actually just be sketching, creating, and I believe it is the shortest distance between an idea in your mind and an idea in reality. It can be debated, but your hand is the shortest distance between your imagination and reality.
Well, I think we are missing some things.
Yeah,
we are missing some things.
Yeah, I was thinking about it too.
Sketching. Talking about
Drafting.
Drafting. Nobody's saying that we should take away the place of sketching in practice. No. We're not taking away the sketch or the place of sketching. Rather, we're talking about hand drafting.
Yeah.
For instance, I want to make, let's say, an elevation of a building using my hand.
Yeah.
Against making the same elevation using a computer software. Which one is better? Regardless, we'll still sketch before we arrive at the level where we now draft.
Yeah.
We're not talking about sketching. We're talking about
Drafting.
using instruments like T-square,
Compass,
Z-square,
stencil.
compass. I don't know that thing. We're not talking about sketching. An architect must sketch at every point in time.
If you don't sketch, I mean, how do you get the idea flowing? It's part of the idea. So, sketching, I think we are going to keep it like on a different pedestal.
Yes.
It is something, as an architect, from time to time you
must
sketch.
sketch.
Okay, so when you sketch, you put your ideas down. All right. So me personally, I should have an opinion too. Me personally, I think computer is where the world is at now. Okay, maybe back in those days when there is no technology, we relied on people to use hand to draw. Because when it becomes very complex, when you are drawing like a building that has like very wide floor plans, okay, and you want to put it to scale, now errors abound when you want, even trying to put things to scale. There are some scales that you cannot get accurately, and then that from there the things start expanding. And when you are using hand tools to draft these things, simple things that you do with computers like change of scale, call out, and all those things becomes an issue. You have to do it again. That is where the problem.
And also, there's a problem of coherence. While we have worked for architects who will give you a drafted work, maybe a work that was drafted in a 2D software like AutoCAD. They will draft the elevation, the section. Now, if you are to model, sometimes using this drafted work from AutoCAD, and you are trying to piece them together in a modeling software like Revit, you realize that there are some discrepancies.
Yes.
What the person may think is working perfectly in
AutoCAD.
2D. When you now model it up in 3D, you now realize that there are some errors.
Yes.
These are the issues that
I think that should be like
when you are drafting
a
it
topic for another day where we talk about the reason why BIM software is the way forward.
Okay, if I were to chip in with what people have said,
yes,
coming from that aspect, I agree that drafting is actually outdated.
Yeah.
But do you know the worst thing in architecture schools in Nigeria is that we are not only drafting, we are also tracing after drafting. So it's like
killing us 2 times.
and I find it difficult why a lot of schools of architecture or boards and departments cannot sit down together and see that this thing is no longer necessary.
Yes.
And I think the reason why is because of the speed at which it developed. So, technology ran too fast for the academic institutions to keep up.
I agree.
So
I've seen that stuff. Yeah.
The whole technology flipped. And
just it's not even up to 8 years now that this thing started doing like this. Now everybody AI everywhere.
Yes, what we should be discussing, because whether we like it or not, we are beginning to produce students that are slightly disoriented. What I mean is that somebody spends about 4 or 5 years in the Department of Architecture only to come out and find out that he or she do not have even the basic skill to function within an office. And a lot of schools of architecture in Nigeria, we are now beginning to have like 2 phases.
Yeah.
We have section of the School of Architecture that are behind, and we have sections of School of Architecture that are trying to go with what it's involved.
Yeah.
So I think it's for me, we should expunge drafting. But if we cannot expunge drafting, we should
restrict it.
To remove tracing.
Or restrict it to some certain level. Like say, okay, maybe your first design in second year, you can just do that drafting, to fulfill the righteousness. Well, I don't think you need to. You get, but
looking at the stage where the student architect is expected to go into practice, like go for his IT second semester, third day, you realize that we need to start these things
very early.
Because by the time the students will start applying
for
to various offices for an IT placement, you realize that people will be asking you,
can you use Revit? Can you use AutoCAD? And they are using hand in school.
Yes.
When you submit that portfolio, nobody's expecting you to bring your best traced work.
Please,
Nobody's expecting that when you bring that portfolio, it needs to be your best, well-rendered traced work. They'll be expecting clean model at that point. At least your ability to model and interpret a drawing carefully and represent it in using a software.
Yes.
That's what they'll be looking at. Then when you now progress higher, they'll start looking at your ability to present drawings in softwares like 3D Max and the rest. But at the basic stage, they want you to know how to draft using a computer.
If your principal architect sketches something and for you just take that sketch. Can you be able to put it in a model format, like whether it is Revit, whether it is ArchiCAD? If you can't do that, because the duty of an architect is to bring out this idea, sketch, and give to you that is learning. So in so doing, you are now learning, okay, this is how to arrange a bathroom, this is how to arrange a toilet. You have to model as a beginner. You have to, your job, do model, do working drawing, do details, bathroom details, staircase details, do all those things before we can now even start the sketching we are talking about, before you can, for an office, before you can now start talking about sketches and all those things. Well, I think we have, conveyed our own opinion as regards to this. Let's look at what people have to say about this online. So I will just read it out and then we are going to now respond to it. I'm going to start with Paul Gobert. He said, what happens if you don't have a computer? What happens when you are on the factory floor and have to explain something using a pencil and paper? What happens if you find an error on a drawing and don't have time to go back to the computer to fix it? What happens if the computer system is infected with a virus and backups get corrupted? That's what he said. So I don't know if you have...
First, he asked what happens if you don't have a computer.
Yes.
I think my response to that is that if you don't have a computer, that means you have no place in practice of architecture in the 21st century.
I just know it will
It's so sad. It's so sad because I used to remember a lecturer telling us that architecture is very expensive for you to study architecture. So if you don't have a computer, you don't even have a place in studying architecture. That's one.
Yeah.
Then the second thing of what happens when you are in a site and you want to give an instruction but you're not with your computer, you can sketch. Like we're saying, nobody is throwing away hand sketching. You can always sketch your ideas and communicate to people at the site at that point. What else did he say? What
happens if there is an error on a drawing and you don't have time to go back to the computer to fix
You will always have time if you want to get the project right.
And
always have
there
time.
Must be some people at the office that are going to make the correction and send to you.
You will always have
urgent.
time unless they want to throw away accuracy to solving the problem right there.
Just imagine you have to go back and sit down and draft it again.
I think the questions he's asking is like he's imagining a world where we don't have computers anymore, we don't have internet, and then everything is back to 1980 and 1970 kind of thing. Well, the thing is this: if we don't have those tools,
we'll go back.
We still have the skills to draft. Where it doesn't make sense is where it's just like somebody asking you, don't make a phone call, send a letter, because maybe tomorrow you won't have a phone. When you don't have a phone, then we'll revert back to what we do when there's no phone. But I think in essence, he's misplacing the difference between sketching and drafting.
Yes. Yeah, and also it's like saying, what if you don't have a drawing table? Or what if you don't have a T-square? I mean, do you want to draft or what?
In the absence of your tools, you can't even draft. So even if you are doing hand drafting and you don't have your
T-square or a Z-square,
pencil or pen,
what are you doing?
Can't draft. That's equivalent of what he's asking.
So I don't agree with his opinion, though. It's not that he's wrong, but I disagree. So this other person, Ashwin Shenoy, I hope I'm pronouncing the word right, said, when you know how to produce a flame using a lighter, why would you want to rub two flame stones to produce a spark and make a fire? You get, drafting by hand has no industrial skills at all. None of the industry resort to such a clumsy manner of sorting their technical drawing plans by hiring someone to use a drafter. A pencil and a pair of set square. Okay, to use a drafter, a pencil and a pair of set square, because it is highly inaccurate and prone to errors. Number 2, as the complexity increases, you can hardly expect the company to waste time and resources in such a clumsy technique. Number 3, it is highly non-reproducible.
Yes.
Okay? Unfortunately, in many of the colleges, this is still taught as a course. I myself have learned it for 2.5 semesters, and now I question myself as to whether it is worth the sweat. The same amount of time dedicated to learning a CAD software would have been such a great investment. All of the drawing sheets on which I specifically drew, those monstrosities was later used as a cover for a window while our medical department was being refurbished. A silent tear dropped on. So please.
Yeah. So, in summary, the guy said that his hard work was used to cover windows during renovation.
At the end of the day.
And, it can be said for a lot of drawings that students have produced with their hands.
Mm-hmm.
So the issue here is the fact that we think that a skill is still useful when it is no longer in demand.
Yeah. So,
and drafting is not even a highly rated skill. The reason is this is mundane work. It doesn't require
thinking.
You have already thought out anything you are drafting. The thought process has already been settled.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what you are doing right now is mundane work. You are just taking lines, representing it from what has already been produced. So I don't think I agree with what the guy is saying.
Yeah,
Totally.
me too.
There's a strong point the guy made concerning if you're able to light a flame using a lighter, why should you go back using to crack into stones?
That's the greatest.
I mean, if we have progressed beyond this stage, why are we forcing people to go back to drafting with hand? When, like we keep mentioning, in the industry, there is no place for hand drafting again. So why should we go back? So he has a very valid point. A lot of the drawings we made with hand, they are now obsolete and they have no valuable use now. There's nothing we can do with hand drafted works. You can't even scale it up, you can't duplicate it, you can't Control C and Control V. Why draft?
A word without Control C and Control V.
You can't Control C and Control V.
That means you repeat and he said something, say you cannot reproduce it.
You waste man hours,
Yes.
drafting with hand, something you can do just by the click of.
If you are living in a world where computer is not a thing, then
Maybe
I understand.
I heard in the Amish school, the Amish people of America, they are not allowed to use computers to draft. They must draft it. Maybe if you are an Amish person,
they still make this. It will shock you to find out that they still make these pencils. They make, of course, pencils are not for only architect in architecture school.
No.
Yeah, but they still make stencils.
Yes.
The one you used to do furniture, they still make alphabetical stencils. They still make all those things, and it is still getting like a lot of sales. So there is still market for it.
Thanks to those schools, they get a lot of sales.
So
Because of the schools of architecture.
Yes.
That are buying. Without the school of architecture.
Those businesses.
And maybe nursery school.
yeah. I don't know, but
No, that's
obviously some people are
ready
still
to write that.
some people are still patronizing them, so good for them. Because hand drawing, this comment is from H. Larry Elman. I think because hand drawing in engineering is needed and useful. Okay, saying the wasting is saying yes, we need it because it's needed and useful. You are not always going to be in front of a computer with AutoCAD. If you are unable to do your job without that, I would fire you, because it would mean that I could never deploy you to the field if such a need arose. Wow. I spent several decades in engineering R&D, normally with computer support, but when it became necessary to troubleshoot a failure or an accident, I would end up in the field for a bit. Thus, when I reached management, I expected my engineers to be able to do maths, to do drawings, and to use judgment and ... all with just their brains and whatever was in their pocket. The last I knew, AutoCAD did not fit into one's pocket.
I think this particular person is still mixing up sketching and drafting.
Minus that, we can guess the age of the person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's already saying he will fire you if you can't use.
It's sounding like
draft.
all these,
That
old timers.
He worked with his hand.
He's an aerospace engineer, USA
Yeah,
office.
maybe he operated when they drafted a lot.
He published aviation in
times with
Syria.
hand.
Yes.
But then from the comments too, you can also see that he's mixing up drafting and sketching.
Yes.
Because when he keeps talking about sending his staff to the field, I know he's not going to send them with T-square.
T-square, S-square, and
And
drawing
table.
table with a
He's not
true
going to
edge.
send them with drawing table
With a true edge.
Yes, so he's not going to send them there. So in the same way, drawings cannot, even those drawing boards cannot fit into the pocket.
Yes.
Yes, because
Cannot.
those drawing boards,
In
even
fact, AutoCAD
as
can
much
fit
as
into the
AutoCAD.
pocket.
Can fit into
Much more
pocket.
than-
Yes.
much more than those drawing boards and,
Yes.
the set squares and T squares.
Yes. Yeah, so that's that. Then Phil Spray said that it's all about the fact that engineering drawing is a language. Whether you use a computer or not, we still have to understand the language of the lines we draw. Otherwise, we don't understand what the lines mean. I mean, whether you use hand or these things.
These are the medium. They are
Yeah.
not the. They are not the goal.
Yes.
It's a medium to
Of
communicate.
expressing or
So
communicating.
whether you draw the line with charcoal, with chalk, with ink, or on your digital screen, the line should be able to communicate what you have in mind, and that is all. When we forget about that and start focusing on the medium, it becomes something else. And with regards to architecture, presentation is always advancing. We haven't talking about lines. People have even crossed the boundaries of lines right now in terms of even
It
digital
is still
presentation.
in its
Yes.
definition.
That with virtual
Right.
reality,
Yes.
even within construction.
I understand. But I think once we are talking about projection, orthographic projection, lines are important because it presents the idea which wall is a wall, which line is a wall, which line is a furniture, a step up, all those things
You know,
we see.
And some people argue that when you draft with your hand, it creates a different kind of mental response rather than when you are drafting with a computer. But the truth is this, some believe that when you draft with hand, you get to learn more about the line weights, applying different pressure and all that. You can also spend that time teaching somebody how to create these different line weights in the computer. And like the other guy mentioned, is an investment that will be worth it.
Yes.
Imagine spending 2.5 semesters
Teaching
on
somebody.
hand drafting and spending the same 2.5 semesters teaching somebody how to draft
Yes.
the computer.
And how to set up these
I
line
think
weights to
you've
give you
impacted the
exactly.
person for
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
You see the challenge there, just like my first comment in this at the beginning, is that a lot of people tend to confuse drafting with sketching.
Sketching, yeah.
So a lot of people think that once you start drafting, that means once you start using your system to draft, it means that you
No,
won't
sketch.
use your
Yeah.
hand to sketch. But sketching has never been much more common right now because even in your system, there are tools now to help you
sketch.
sketch.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they sell it with pens. Many tabs come with pens. Many phones now
And
are
these
coming
pens
with
are
pens.
very expensive to
Yes.
show you the importance.
Exactly.
Like if you talk about an Apple pencil now, it's running into hundreds of dollars.
Very expensive because if you want to sketch, you have to pay.
Yes, and
Yeah.
there's this new AI they even developed that you can sketch a math problem on your pad. Just put an equal to and the AI will solve the math.
Wow.
I mean,
That's-
these things are coming to stay.
I'm telling you, so it's better you start putting your students to it. The more you are equipping them to be able to, have an advantage in the market. If not, you just have students that when they now come out of school, that's when they will get
Maybe
introduced
they'll
to
return
Revit.
back to lecture in the system.
They will not pay someone else to teach them how to
That's what I'm
use
saying.
Revit.
They wouldn't, if they don't fit in into the industry,
They will now
return
go back
the
to
system.
teaching the hand
The
drafting.
system will employ them and they'll continue teaching
People are
them.
throwing shades at lecturers.
I'm
This
not
is
throwing
un-
shade.
No, this is not shade. It's just
But that's what
it's just
it is.
the
What
truth.
it
When
is
you
now.
raise architects that can't fit into the industry, you return them and employ them in your institution.
You know what they say? Those
those skills are
that can't do, they teach. It's not as if all the lecturers can do, but it's a saying. You can actually look it up. So another
We are
person,
going to take this up.
another person said that Eduardo Toledo said that yes, there is. For example, during a meeting when you will not be able to reach a computer.
Still sketch.
Still
sketch.
talking about
Next
sketching.
comment.
Next point. Still
Please,
talking about sketching.
please. Okay. This person say, "Hi. This is an obvious question for the generation who have grown up using computers. They think that conventional way of learning drawing is obsolete, and everything can be done with computers. CAD means computer-aided drawing or drafting. This means computer is used as a tool, aid, help to create drawings. but it is always necessary to have an exposure to create it conventionally. Those who know can definitely create better card than who don't. Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. I said those who know how to draft with hands will definitely create better card than those who don't. Many people who don't really understand this and trying to replace conventional drawing with card. It is very unfortunate because this comment, the way he's writing, it's very unfortunate. We pay for it. Okay. The statement, even though he puts a full stop, he said those who don't really understand this and trying to replace conventional drawing with card, it is very unfortunate. We pay for it in the long run. You see, I think combination is fantastic. I'm really good at conventional, 3 decades. Okay. But fantastic at card. I love computers, by the way. I also understand when to use them.
We can summarize his point. What he's saying or what he's insinuating is, and this is a common insinuation with most people that are against computer drafting, is that people that just go into computer drafting will not have enough skill to create high quality graphics. Now, the issue is not with computer drafting. The issue is with how you have been taught. And so you can create excellent, wonderful graphics, even using the computer or using your hand if you've been taught properly. So the issue is not with the system. The issue is with the teaching that person has taught. I don't know if that answers.
Yeah. Then there's a point he mentioned about where those who learned the basics of drafting with hand can do better than those who learned just how to use card. Yeah. Well, I don't agree with him. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
In architecture, there's a course you take, descriptive geometry, and in the course you get to plot an ellipse or draw an ellipse.
Or this parabola.
What they call it, all those edged instruments. You're supposed to construct the ellipse.
Yes.
Now, if you learn how to do that, and you think maybe it will help you to go to the site and set out an elliptical building, you're wasting time. You're wasting time because the person that has used the tool in the computer to sketch that same ellipse can go to site, use another tool to also set out the ellipse within the shortest period of time, and the accuracy level will be higher.
And get to it faster.
I don't agree with him at all.
It's about how fast
you
to
save
get paid.
time, but you know time is money.
Yes.
When you use these tools to save time, I mean, you make money.
I'm telling you.
So I don't know why people are insisting on.
The architecture industry is the only industry where technology is found out by people that use technology in other aspects.
I'm telling you. So
see other industries like the medical field, technologies are coming up, making surgeries easily, and they are embracing this thing. Because this thing save life.
Yes.
Like with technology,
faster.
And also you know there are some procedures that people will undergo and they will come out with very massive scars.
Yeah.
But with technology, they've reduced these scars to the barest minimum.
And you can do it.
But in architecture profession, you get to see people fighting technology. Instead of looking for ways to impress. Instead of looking for ways to impress. And people keep making this comment that during our time we did it like this, we did it like this. I mean, come on, it's during your time.
I mean, the way Henry Ford built cars back in the day.
It's not the same way Toyota is building today.
It's not the same way Tesla is building.
And they are not fighting the technology. They're embracing it to make things better.
And it's working.
So I think we need to start thinking about this in architecture.
It's working. So it's I think everybody here is mainly going back and forth to the two. You know, it's either you are in support or you are not in support. Yeah. So I think with this we have actually, please, CAD, computer-aided drafting and design is the way. Okay, you can sketch. You can, when you want to quickly correct something on site, you can make a sketch and explain. If they are still not getting it, you can send word to your office so that they can make the correction and send to you.
That's why you have it.
So you show them in detail if that is what they will need to get the job done. Okay, so because we live in a world where time is like money. If you're in the construction industry, you know that the more time you are wasting, the more time the architect is wasting to draft this thing, inflation will be hitting. Even if a lot of things will, time is money. Let me just put it that way.
So to cut you short, but what would you say to schools of architecture right now that are insisting? Can you think from their point of view? Is there any way you can look at things from their point of view?
I mean, it's, like you said before at the beginning of this video, the system of education, it takes its time for it to, adapt and improve and catch up. Technology moves very fast. Before you know what's going now, this computer might be outdated. We'll start using hologram to do things. Okay, but education system, they're actually usually very slow to make this improvement.
In this part of the world.
In the whole world.
Education system.
If you find out when the stuff started coming out and when they even started adopting it in the world, it is not exactly the same thing. They are not competing. Technology improves way faster than education. Like, you get.
Normally.
So we are taking more time because maybe some people will say we are a third world country. I don't know. I've not checked. We are taking more time and we are holding on to the hand drafting, even though the lecturers that are insisting on this in the university will not use hand to draft their work now.
So I think the point is, if you are to advise
the school, I'm
what
saying
advice are you going to
balance. Okay, balance. They might do it in second year, because that's when they start designing. They might do it first semester, second semester, so that they will experience it, what it feels like to use for the experience. Then after that, we can now get into the business of teaching them what they will use to survive when they come out of school. It's not, when you even want to go for IT, they will want you to have this skill. At least know the basic skill of, if I get something as your supervisor or the principal architect of the firm where you are interning at, you should be able to put it inside the system. And then I will now be teaching you things maybe on site or design wise. You're not here for me to teach you CAD. Your school is supposed to do that. You understand? I'm here to teach you the experience of, architecture. Do you understand? So, if I'm to add, I'm sorry this is getting too long. Let me just go straight to the point now. Please, let it be minimal, like 15%, like he said, and then the CAD, knowledge of CAD, expressing yourself in CAD, let it be more so that the student can be able to cope when they come out. Yeah.
Okay.
I think if I am to advise schools and schools of architecture and schools of technology, engineering, and the rest, I think in architecture specifically, they will have, if they want to insist on teaching the students hand drafting, like I mentioned, 15%. And that 15% may not even necessarily be on building designs. Mm-hmm. That 15% could be a course that teaches you drafting, maybe descriptive geometry only. You get to learn how to draft.
Yeah.
When you're talking about designing now, teach them from that very early stage how to draft with the computer, because that is what the industry demands.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying take it away totally, no. Keep it there, but let it just be a minor aspect of the education.
So my final take on it is this. First of all, I think use of tracing paper should be abolished in all schools of architecture. I don't know the reason why we are still doing this in 2024. And most tracing papers are thrown into the dustbin immediately after the presentation. And secondly is that if you look at the amount of time spent by students drafting, they would have used it to redo that design on the system, have more frequent feedback, and then get better at designing. So architecture is not for you to get better at drafting. It's actually for you to get better at designing.
Yes.
And the quicker you iterate your designs, the quicker you get better in design. But if you are drafting, the turnover process is very slow.
Yeah.
And you see students avoiding mentorship just because they've suffered to
draft, and you have to correct them.
If you correct it, you imagine the amount of time they are going to spend.
Yes.
So, and then finally, if we cannot get rid of drafting completely, why I said that is because we are a third world country, or we are, I don't know what they call us now, global south, whatever they call us, developing.
Yes.
So the access to computer systems in most universities is not as much as we would like it. Mm-hmm. So some people might be disenfranchised. Mm-hmm. So if we cannot get rid of drafting entirely, at least students should not be tracing.
Yeah. It's also very important to point that, because I know that people that didn't study architecture can actually learn Revit and be doing it. It's also important to point out that whether you are using CAD or hand drafting, architectural design is taught differently. You learn.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not about whatever. So This is our, and it's very important to maintain that this is our opinion on this matter. If you have any contrary opinion, if you have something you want to say, please feel free to comment in the comment section to let us know, your opinion. If you have any question, you can also ask there as well. We are going to respond to you. All right, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a like. If you're new to this channel, podcast, wherever you're getting this, and you have not subscribed, okay, do well to subscribe. We drop important content like this every week, okay? Thank you very much for watching this video or listening to this podcast. We're going to see you in the next one.